You hear more info come out about the Florida shooter. You guys aren't going to believe the political ideology of the shooter. It's going to shock you what the political beliefs of this young man who senselessly killed other people were. That's right. It's another liberal. No. The 20-year-old student accused of killing 2 people and wounding 6 others at Florida State University, this is the son of a sheriff, right? It was a sheriff or a police chief, had expressed extremist political views that made classmates uncomfortable, talked about his interest in guns, and experienced years of family tumult that culminated in his changing his name in high school. The day after the shooting terrorized Florida State students, forcing them to flee or hide from gunfire at the university campus in Tallahassee, interviews and extensive court records offered an early portrait of the suspect, though law enforcement officials remained silent on what might have motivated the attack. Curious. Law enforcement officials usually seem so eager to make claims when they think they can get away with it about terroristic motives, Muslims, whatever. They're being quiet about this son of a police chief? Okay. By the time the suspect, Phoenix Egner, was 6 years old, court records showed he had to repeat kindergarten. What? What do you have to do to repeat kindergarten? His parents fought bitterly over every aspect of his care while accusing each other of manipulation and abuse. Judges were forced to intervene again and again as parents traded allegations of domestic violence and stalking. The legal battle consumed nearly his entire childhood and ended only when he became an adult, and most of his family court matters became moot. Jesus. Any particular reason, by the way, why New York Times opens by talking about extremist political views but doesn't share those views? I'm sure they will as we scroll further down, but, you know, it's implied. You know, I don't think it would have been implied if he was like an ISIS guy, you know? Like if he was like a radicalized, like a Wahhabist, like crazy Muslim, something, right? I feel like it wouldn't be implied if he was that, you know? They would have just put it in the headline. So are they going to explain his views, or do I have to go to a different source? Are they really that cucked over at the New York Times? I mean, the answer is yes, but here we go. Here we go. You only have to get through like 20 paragraphs, right? Before attending Florida State, the suspect attended Tallahassee Community College, now known as Tallahassee State College, where 2 former classmates said he shared far-right political views they found troubling. The suspect was a registered Republican who regularly voted in elections. Reid Seybold, 22, a senior at Florida State, said the suspect joined a political discourse club that Mr. Seybold ran at Tallahassee State. The suspect's time in the club was short-lived. He repeatedly espoused white supremacist alt-right views to the point where people were uncomfortable and we had to ask him to leave, Mr. Seybold said, adding that the discussions often became Phoenix against just about everyone else, with the suspect escalating arguments and seeming to thrive on the opposition. Nice. He said Rosa Parks was in the wrong. He strongly implied black people were ruining his neighborhood. That's great, man. Fash debate lord. It's nice to see like how these people look when a little bit of light is shined on them, like the average Twitter user, you know? These seem like rage bait type arguments. Yeah, but clearly he believed them like strongly enough to then do a shooting, right? Like it's not like and this is what I've always said about people who are lay epically trolling. It's like if a person, man, like you're not 13 anymore. Grow the fuck up. You believe things or you don't. When people are like constantly schizo posting about their insane bait, controversy bait, fash opinions online, like the insincerity of their opinions doesn't suggest that underneath the insincerity they have like a coherent, sincere set of positions. It just implies that they're insane. Everyone like that. People love to like aesthetize the idea of like a chaos agent who believes a bunch of stupid shit, but like it's all like a greater mask for an underlying good set of positions or whatever. And that person doesn't exist. It's not real. That guy has never existed. It's not 15 years ago. People aren't posting, you know, I love Halo Master Chief, you know? I love my favorite girl character to play is Metroid. It's not that era, okay? They're just insane people. I bet you anything there were already calls made about this guy, that he was a danger, and the reason they didn't go through, the reason that nothing was done about it was because he's the son of a police chief. That's my bet. I hope not only that he's dragged through the mud after the fact, I hope they bring charges against the mom. I just want to see. I just want to see. Remember that couple? They were sentenced after their kid did a shooting. They were sentenced to prison because it turns out they were woefully negligent in preventing the attack because their kid was crazy and they gave him a gun and they like they like did everything they could to like lead up to the shooting, basically. You know? I just wonder if this is another case of that. I don't know. Maybe. We can investigate it. Yeah, they tried to flee. Stepmother deputy, not police chief. Okay, deputy. It's not good. Wasn't he also like a member of TPUSA or something?
The suspect continues to receive treatment at one of our local hospitals. He will face the charges up to and including first-degree murder.
2 people died, including Tiru Chaba, a husband and father, and Robert Morales. His brother writing, quote, he loved his job at FSU and his beautiful wife and daughter.
He didn't shoot himself? No, actually, the police responded pretty quickly this time. They got him.
Grad student Madison Askins was hit by a bullet that still lodged in her back.
I heard the shooter come up next to me, and I heard him reload. So I knew I needed to stay dead. So I stayed slumped over. I remember him saying, yeah, keep running.
Do you believe that basically playing dead is what saved your life?
100%. When he
That's got to be like the move, right? That's got to be the tech. Like if you get shot once, I don't know, like what's the point in trying to like move after that, right? I don't know, catch me at a mass shooting event. I'm tripping and falling and pretending I got hit in the head and died. You know, I'm not continuing to move. Some shooters actually check for pulses. Okay. But if they're going to do that, they were just going to shoot you when you moved anyway, right? Check for pulses. That's like they're going to stop. Okay, maybe in like some situations, but I think overwhelmingly they're running around.
The Florida State University community coming together as they remember the victims of Thursday's tragic campus shooting.
Everybody's just shocked and sad and angry, and you could just kind of feel it in the crowd, like especially at the beginning when everybody just got super quiet.
The shooting rampage left 6 people injured and 2 men dead. Robert Morales, a former assistant
Police search for motive in deadly campus attack. We need to acknowledge as a society that the motive was that he was a Republican, and that's it. Like, he just held right-wing beliefs. He held beliefs that were the logical extension of the administration. If you believe the administration and follow what they believe through to its logical conclusion, you will be a fascist. That's not like, you don't have to go further than the administration. You're just following what you're being told. If you watch Fox News and listen to them, you will be a fascist. And that is enough. The ideology of that administration is death. They just want people dead. There's no sense to it. It doesn't have to benefit anyone. They just like death. They enjoy it. They love evil. It's a death cult. We have to acknowledge that as a sufficient justification. And I want to see that argument trotted out in court, you know? I want to see that argument trotted out in court. Like, can you imagine if during the Nuremberg trials, when we were trying all of the Nazis, we weren't allowed to describe Nazism as an ideological component of their actions? We would like vaguely gesture it like, well, they were white supremacists, obviously, you know, Aryan supremacists. They were, you know, they were chauvinists, they were militaristic or something. But the actual like Nazism, the ideology itself wasn't allowed to be touched on, like because it was too partisan or something. It's crazy, man. Eventually you have to call a spade a spade. What's making these people like this? Vosh, I genuinely forgot this happened because right-wingers are silent on this, but they're still trying to start a race war because of that black kid who murdered the white kid. Wasn't it even... I don't even know the details of that case. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, every time a black guy kills a white guy, they want a race war. And every time one of their own goes crazy, they say it's a fed. That's the reward you get, by the way, for going like epic 4chan based mode and doing a shooting or whatever. You like the defending the white race or whatever. Everyone in your camp calls you a fed and says that you're fake and Jewish. That's your reward for, you know, sacrificing your life forever for the purpose of killing your classmates. So what a great life these people, you know, build for themselves. Phenomenal system, really. Why isn't Fox News watching grandma a shooter? Do you know what Fox News watching grandma votes for? Ideologically, the only difference between the median Republican who goes out there and votes and this shooter is that some people are crazy enough to want to take matters into their own hands. Most of them want Trump to do it. Whether or not they're fully aware of what they're doing or the political consequences or implications, we're never going to move forward as a country until we recognize that if you're voting for Trump or any of his cohorts, you're voting for death. And if you go and commit a school shooting, you're also committing death. You're dealing with levels of abstraction, but eventually you have to hold people accountable, at least morally, for what they're voting for. Like, how could you not? Obviously, I don't think anyone, like essentially no one's arguing anything other than like, yeah, school shooter, that's immoral, that's illegal, so on and so forth, right? You know, whatever justifies that, it's unacceptable. And of course, if there was like a crazy commie who did a school shooting, it wouldn't matter if his political views ostensibly aligned with my own. I'd say, well, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that, man. That's bad. Crazy position of mine. Hot take. I think school shootings are bad. I know I'm in the minority in America on that one, but You know, I still believe it. I hold to that virtue. Woke? Yeah, I'm virtue signaling. You're like, how are we, what are you supposed to do when like the ideology that you're up against is like, okay, for 99.99% of them or whatever, their way of expressing that like ideation of death is to vote for people who will plunge us into the abyss, right? Like their goal is to institutionalize it. They want it done in the typical like Amerifat, disposition. They're too lazy to do it themselves. They want their elected officials to do it for them. And then every once in a while you get a crazy shooter or something. But we saw what happened on January 6th. How easily one turns into another. Oh, I'm just here to support the crazy fascist Nazi candidate. How quickly that turns into them wanting to go into the Capitol building and lynch, politicians. And we saw what happened in the early days of COVID or the George Floyd protests, right? Where you had 3%ers and Proud Boys, marauding about taking advantage of the destabilized social fabric. All these militias woke up and a lot of them thought this is our chance. There were leaked messages. Some of them got arrested for crimes they committed. There were leaked messages from their militias. A lot of them thought this was the happening. This is them rising up. All these crazy motherfuckers. It's not all of them are going to go and do a school shooting, but a lot of them are waiting for society to destabilize to the point where they can go out there and, they don't want to do a school shooting, but they do want to clean up the neighborhood. It's always the day of the rope with these motherfuckers. And you have to trace this back to the central doctrine, the ideology, right? It's not just the abstract extremist views. It's that student was a Republican. You get me. You get me. Dangerous way of thinking. Explain how. With your dickless vague posting. What do you mean? Dangerous to identify the root cause of the fascist ideology is the fascist political party that believes in fascism and says fascism. The danger is not acknowledging you made it political. Like the danger here is not acknowledging the underlying factor here. Look, crazies exist across the political spectrum. We're dealing with a broader institutionalized crazy. So what are we supposed to do? It's just crazy. Do you have any idea how many people have died already just from the retraction of U.S. aid? You can go read articles on it. Hundreds, possibly thousands of children have already starved to death in sub-Saharan Africa. Why? Well, no reason. No reason. I mean, because it was like woke to feed them or something, right? It's just death. It's just death. The markets crash. Everyone's lives get worse. Everything gets more expensive. A few people get wealthier, like proportionally, but, just a few, right? Life gets worse for everyone. We alienate our allies. We declare wars. We isolate ourselves. Everything gets worse for everyone for no reason. Can we not identify what's causing this? God almighty, I'm just saying that it's over for us if we don't. That's why I don't like the description or the relegation of this to it's extremist views. It's not extremist, man. Half the country believes it. We need to wake the fuck up. It's not extremist. It's not extremist in the sense that it's not uncommon. Like the underlying views here are the cause and they're quite mainstream. And I've said this before, but if you believe the shit they're saying on Fox News, if you believe the shit that Trump is saying, it is you could morally derive from that the kind of shit that shooter did. The shit they say is insane, man. Listen to a Trump speech. Our country is being invaded. It's under attack. The blood of our country is being poisoned by migrants and illegal aliens. Holy shit. If you listen to that and you think in your mind, you're thinking oh, the civilization of the West, the United States of America, a system, an institution upon which hundreds of millions, maybe billions of people rely upon across the world, that is about to be destroyed by these invaders. And some of these people that believe that, they turn out to be killers. They go out and murder people. That's a straight one-to-one derived position from the propaganda they were being fed. You can't be doing that, man. You have to acknowledge where this is coming from. It's really, really dangerous. And I want to be clear, by the way, right? I want to be, I want to be straightforward, and I want to say and we've talked about political violence as an abstract, thing before. You can look back. It's always easier to talk about in retrospect, right? What about the Civil War? What about the Revolutionary War? What about the French Revolution? What about Rosa Parks? What about the Civil Rights Movement? Blah, 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 blah. Can you justify political violence in the past? Okay, well, what would you have done as a Jew in Nazi Germany in 1933 to defend yourself, right? Everyone gets back to the abstracts. I'm not even talking about the abstract hypotheticals. I'm not even talking about the broader, well, at what point is anything justified? I'm just saying flatly, as a matter of recognition, And you know what the difference is? The difference is honesty. Because when Luigi allegedly did what he did, a bunch of people were like, damn, well, Brian Mangione probably killed way the more people than Luigi allegedly has. And I should be clear again, allegedly. Did I just say Brian Mangione? Sorry, why am I blanking? Yeah. Why am I blanking? Don't keep saying Brian Mangione, then I'm going to lock it in my head. Brian Thompson, thank you. You can't keep saying that. You're going to lock it up here. You know how it works. I just think it's there's a clear difference in intent and character and honesty when there are so many people on social media, right, who are just flatly saying, okay, leaving aside the alleged thing, people are saying, you know, Luigi was justified, or they'll just say like, well, maybe Brian Thompson shouldn't have killed so many people by denying them insurance. Maybe like Brian Thompson shouldn't have been like the guy who churned the death engine, right? That's integrity. At least you acknowledge the underlying motivations there. So all I want is for people to say, hey, maybe there's a kind of, I don't know, like direct parallel between the political party and the ideology that's, you know, talking about how the blood and soul of the country is being poisoned by degenerates and motherfuckers going out there and committing mass murder, you know? Maybe like we could draw a link there. But no, instead we get the New York Times saying he had extremist views and then like tenuously linking, like maybe that caused it, maybe it didn't. You get like police are still searching for a motive. We found the motive, whatever. But also, like I've said before, about 20% of school shootings are politically motivated. I disagree. I would say that almost all of them are, because a huge number of them are like guys who fall into the like some version of, some iteration of the incel pipeline, right? Like there's a reason why school shootings have risen massively alongside the internet, right? Like guns existed back in the 80s. There was literally no difference right now between like right now and the 1980s when it came to like the material capabilities of committing mass murder in that fashion. Like this rose with the internet. And I think, you know, I think it's even the Columbine kids at swastikas drawn to their private journals. Yeah, I mean, all the way back to the beginning, man. All the way back to the beginning. That's ideologically motivated, not politically. You're drawing a distinction that doesn't exist, my friend. Inceldom is politics. There's a direct, like, there is no version of that, like, internet, like, you know, hyper chauvinist, isolationist, you know, women are ruining society by denying you sex, and that shit, you know, and politics. That's politics, right? It's all politics. It's more sociology. Well, sociology is politics. Politics isn't like a separate category or of thing. Politics just describes like the organization of human belief, action, resources. I mean, it's a very broad, it's like, yeah, politics is the point where everything converges for us to discuss, argue, fight over who does what, you know? Politics is all encompassing. There's a bunch of like, you know, subcategories, areas of study. What is everyone's aversion to labeling something as political? I don't know. I just think people just get the impression that politics is like when a political office is involved, or like when a politician is involved or whatever, you know? But saying that politics is when, you know, something involves politicians or law would be like saying that, I don't know, the concept of physics only applies when you're in a laboratory. Like, sure, maybe that's where the action's happening, but that shit's going on everywhere. The physics, that applies when you're taking a poop. Otherwise, the poop wouldn't fall down when it leaves your butt because of gravity and stuff. Not enough people talk about this. I agree. Yeah.